live senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine. Senator, good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, John, great to be with you today.
Okay, we've got limited time. I want to start right with ISIL. Ramadi falling the other day. Look, this policy we have of basically arming the Iraqi security apparatus, their army, it's not working. Now we find out equipment that we have, tanks, armaments, weaponry falling in the hands of ISIS because once again the Iraqi army abandons things, runs away. Look, this policy is not working. What do we do?
John, I agree with you. It's got real problems now. To be fair, our special forces did a fantastic operation in Syria over last week, and a very dangerous one. We were lucky that we didn't lose lives, but that took out a key ISIL leader. So it's not all bad news. But you're right. This most recent fall of Ramadi with U.S. arms that had been supplied to the Iraqi military falling into ISIL's hands demonstrates we got major problems with this. We're going to have a hearing that was hastily called this morning in Armed Services at 9:30 to talk about it. But John, I'm going to turn the tables on my colleagues at the hearing. It's fine for Congress to pepper the administration with criticisms, but I don't think we're just fans in the stands at this point because Congress hadn't done the job that we're supposed to do, which is we're in the 10th month of war, and Congress hasn't even had a debate about whether to authorize it or not. It's ridiculous, and we got people who are risking their lives, Virginians who are deployed on the Theodore Roosevelt and over in the theater of battle, and we're going to, criticize the president for what he's doing, but we haven't done the one thing that Congress is supposed to do, which is have a debate about is this necessary and is it in the national interest. I do think some of these battlefield reversals that are very serious may wake Congress out of its sleepwalking here and get us to take it seriously.
Well, let me just ask this. So let's go back to the Syrian raid that we all should be very proud of, very well executed. But look, Syria is a sovereign government.
Yeah.
And we go in there and we do a raid. I mean, it was the right thing to do, no question, take the bad guys out.
Yep.
But imagine if Assad tried to do a raid because he was trying to take people out in Montana. I mean, we go ballistic. There's no authorization of war or anything else. So basically my question is, I know that you've been leading this battle for some time. I cannot for the life of me understand why Speaker Boehner and Kevin McCarthy don't allow this thing to come to the House, let the president go in, make his argument, vote it up or down.
And John, let's add to it. This is the same House, and I see it in the Senate too, that is very quick to kick the president around as the imperial leader if he takes an executive action, and then they're even going to file a lawsuit against him. But on the most significant action that a president could take, and one of the most solemn responsibility that is clearly a congressional responsibility, if he starts a unilateral war, there's a conspiracy of silence over here about it. I mean, it is incredible. Speaker Boehner this week said, well, we're not taking it up because the authorization that the president sent over, we just don't like, so he should send over another one. Whoa, so the president's job is to guess what is in the collective mind of Congress and try to write something that meets congressional standard? The House can have hearings. They got a Foreign Relations Committee. Have a hearing, mark it up, change it, amend it, get it on the floor. At least in the Senate, we've had one debate in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and voted on an authorization. But to get that in December, John, I had to pull a procedural stunt that was going to block people's ability to go home for Christmas to get it even considered. And then once it got out of committee, nothing happened on the floor. So I'm going to make that point very plain in this hearing this morning. No wonder we don't like the way things are going. We don't have our hands on the steering wheel, and Congress is just acting like we're fans in the stands on this one when we should be decision makers.
You almost get the feeling that John Boehner and Kevin McCarthy in the House just don't want to have to take any responsibility for what's happening. So it's easy to shoot arrows as an armchair quarterback from the sideline. But I think I want to commend you again, Senator, for fighting this battle for AUMF, because we're still involved in an illegal war that we have no authorization to do based on the Constitution. And
you're right, John.
I'm right.
There is no Article 2 constitutional justification for this war. Neither of the congressional authorizations that were passed in 2001 or 2002 authorized the war. There's a 1973 War Powers Resolution that allows the president to take some military action, but the action's supposed to stop if Congress doesn't approve it after 60 or 90 days. We're into the 10th month, not the 60th or 90th day. It's an outrage that we're asking people to risk their lives. And go look at the recounting of that Special Forces mission in Syria. They're risking their lives, and we're asking them to do it without Congress doing the job of debating and saying that the mission is worthwhile. Again, the recent events are ugly enough that maybe they'll wake Congress out of the slumber that we've been in up here about this.
Well, we have to have a national debate, and as I said, you're a constitutional conservative, and those people that say they're conservatives, but then they don't even want the president to come to Congress and follow the Constitution is just maddening to me. I appreciate the fight that you've put in this. I want to get to the Patriot Act, just truth in advertising. I was about the only Republican that was opposed to it in 2002. I was opposed to the reenactment. Now I'm opposed to it. Again, this, I believe, has been the seedlings of stripping our civil liberties. Why do we need this thing?
Well, I will say this, John. I probably oppose a big chunk of it. We're probably somewhat in the same way, but you may be even further in opposition than I am. Clearly, the bulk data collection piece, we got to get rid of it.
Yes.
We have to. And the Federal Appellate Court, Second Circuit, just said it violated the statute itself to do the bulk data collection. So the House has passed a bipartisan USA Freedom Act, which continues much of the Patriot Act, but it completely eliminates the bulk data collection program, which is a very good thing. There are some in the Senate who just want to reauthorize the Patriot Act. I will not vote for a reauthorization. I won't vote for a reauthorization for a week. We ought to be voting for a new bill, and I think the House bill, the bipartisan USA Freedom Act that came out of the House, the Senate should just take that up and vote for it. Mm-hmm. That will continue provisions that I think are necessary to protect our security, but it will eliminate this bulk data collection program, which is way too intrusive in terms of invading people's personal liberty.
Well, coupled with the fact, again, that's another thing that's totally unconstitutional. And, those that are in favor of this NSA basically warrantless search for what everybody does over the phone or anything else, they can't give you a single example of where that stopped anything. So it's just an unbelievable stripping of our rights and invasion of privacy. So again, we want to thank you for fighting that battle. I want to get to the Trans-Pacific Partnership Act and fast trade. I think we're probably on the opposite sides of this.
Yeah, and we're kind of. I'm taking maybe more the more traditional Republican, and you're taking the more traditional Democratic position, which shows that we're both we don't follow anybody's party lines.
I think that's what makes the relationship work, and I am so opposed to this because, and I know we're debating fast track authority, which I don't like giving any president authority on anything because I believe in the sanctity of the Congress. But look, you look at history, Senator Kaine, and every time we get involved of one of these globalistic trade deals, whether it be NAFTA or anything else, it punishes the U.S. worker. It costs us manufacturing jobs. And to me, this is just a globalist hunt for slave labor. What say you?
Yeah, well, okay, two things. So the fast track is the process for negotiating a deal, and then the Trans-Pacific Partnership is the deal itself, which isn't done and might not be done for 6 or 8 months. We give presidents fast track to negotiate deals because it is very hard, especially with multiple nations, to negotiate a deal, in this case 12 nations, a trade deal, and then come back and let each of the 12 nations' legislatures fly spec it, amend it, and change it. So what this procedure will do, and we've given it to every president since Eisenhower with one little interruption during the Nixon administration, we've given it to Democratic and Republican presidents. It gives president's instructions. If you're going to do a deal, meet these standards, and then bring the deal back, and we'll analyze the deal and have an up or down vote. And I actually think we ought to give the president this tool like we've given other presidents the tools to negotiate a deal. Now, will the deal be a good one or a bad one? Well, we will take a look, and we will dig into it, and it will be publicly out and available for people to see much longer than anything else we vote on up here, and then we'll vote it up or down. I'll tell you why I generally support the deals. You talk about the challenges of trade deals, and John, what I would say to you is I think you're talking about the challenges not of trade deals, but of trade. We are in a world now where trade's going to happen. Trade is going to happen, and trade is accelerating. And are there job losses? Sure, there are. But there's also companies like the little art dealer in Henrico County that I went to that sells the prints that hang over hotel beds in hotel rooms. That 10 years ago they weren't selling anything overseas, and now 20% of their revenue is through exports. Virginia, with a big port and with an international airport, more and more of our businesses, more and more of our farms find export clients, but an awful lot of the world puts tariffs in our way so that we can't export, and if we export more, we'll create more jobs. So the challenges that you recount are true, but they are the challenges that come from trade, not trade deals. Trade deals, I think, can help us manage it better, and trade deals are going to happen. If they're going to happen, I want the U.S. to be holding the pen in our hand and writing them rather than letting China or somebody else put the pen in their hand and write the terms of the deal. I think trade's going to happen, and the only question is, will the standards be standards that will be more elevated standards that will put us on a more level playing field, or we will do it under China rules where it's basically a race to the bottom, and that's what's really going to hurt us.
Well, yes, and that's the thing. These things are not, no matter what they put in them, the other countries we play by the rules. They cheat. They have tariffs. We don't. So the U.S. worker gets basically hammered on this thing. And if you look at history, if you go back to the 1830s, basically it was a somewhat protective tariffs that basically was the engine of American manufacturing renaissance. You take those down. You look at I was against NAFTA. I heard all the arguments for that, and I said, you know what? At the end of the day, it's gonna be 5 to 10 million manufacturing jobs that are going to go somewhere else, and that's played out. We've had no benefit from NAFTA other than wage decrease and job loss. That's my concern.
Yeah, but let's talk about Virginia. How did Virginia get started? It was global trade. That's who the Virginia company was that came here in 1607 in Jamestown Island, and with our port that is booming, as you know, it's amazing. The port in Virginia. It looked for a while like that building in the Maersk port would give us all the capacity we would need for a very long time, but it turns out it hasn't. We up here in Washington are scrambling to try to find more money for Kaine Island because, especially with the Panama Canal being reconfigured, we are set to have even a more booming port operation. John, in our lifetime, Hampton Roads will overtake New York Harbor, I think, as the busiest port on the East Coast, and we got an international airport at Dulles. We are in a situation where trade has its losses in Virginia, obviously. You go down to Danville and Martinville, and you see factories that are closed. They didn't close because of NAFTA. They closed after NAFTA, but most of them, the jobs didn't even go to Mexico. They went to China. But you also are seeing businesses all over the Commonwealth and farms too. It's amazing who find customers overseas that they've never been able to find before. So it's going to happen. The only question is who's going to write the rules. You're right. People cheat on the rules, so you got to have enforcement provisions that can work, and all those will be questions when the president and his negotiators put a deal on the table. Might be 6 months from now, this TPP. We're going to give it very careful review, and I mark my words, John. When that deal gets put on the table, it will get more public scrutiny because of the timing provisions we're setting up in this fast track. It will get more public scrutiny than virtually anything we ever vote on up here, and everybody, the press, labor, environmentalists, everybody will know exactly what we're voting for or against by the time we do it. And look, we need to make sure that it's a good deal. And if it's not a good deal, I'm going to vote against it. But I think we ought to give the president the tool to get the best deal he can, and then we'll determine whether or not we're going to put it in place.
So right now, in order to read it, you have to go down, you have to get your PF flyer, do code or secret spy ring, right? Go downstairs into the dungeon. Remember that?
I do remember the secret code ring. I remember when I accidentally flushed it down the toilet and I made my dad have to dismantle the plumbing to get it. So, but no. Listen, the argument that this is a secret deal, I think I will be blunt. I think it's completely specious. It is the case that a deal that is not fully negotiated, it's hard to go read it. Just like the Iranian nuclear negotiation, which isn't fully done. You can't go read that either. But we've set up a process. Here's what's going to happen. If a deal is ultimately done, because of this fast-track bill, the way it's written, it will get posted electronically for the world to read for 60 days before the president signs it. And then once the president signs it, it comes over to Congress, and it gets fully hearings and debates in Congress. Mm-hmm. It cannot be amended. It's an up or down vote, so it won't change like at the 11th hour with somebody trying to slip in some pork project for themselves. This will get more public review than anything else we do up here when the deal is negotiated. But until the negotiation is done, all the nations have agreed. Nothing's final till nothing's agreed to till everything's agreed to. But once it is final, this will get more scrutiny than anything else we vote on up here.
We're with Democratic Senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine, Virginia's new authentic constitutional conservative. We've got about 1 minute, Senator Kaine. You're next week you're going to be touring through Virginia. Can you just share those details real fast?
Yeah, John, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm touring through Virginia next week, and I'm actually starting off in Virginia's Great Southwest. I'm going to be down there for a wonderful event to benefit Virginia foster care kids who are age out of foster care and going to the community college system. It's a songwriting festival at Virginia Highlands Community College in Abingdon. Ann and I are going to go down. We're going to hike Saturday, and then we're going to go to the songwriting festival Saturday night. On Memorial Day, I'm going to be doing a Memorial Day parade and a VFW event in Marion, Virginia. We started a new veterans cemetery in Pulaski County, Virginia when I was governor. I'm going to go by that cemetery Memorial Day afternoon. Tuesday, I'm doing events in the Roanoke region, a roundtable with Asian American businesses, and a visit to a really top-notch technical program in Botetourt. And then Wednesday, I'm going to be down in Hampton Roads doing oyster restoration in the morning with Chesapeake Bay Foundation and visiting the Portsmouth Naval Hospital in the afternoon. And then Thursday and Friday, my staff hadn't told me what I'll be doing yet, but I'm sure they'll think of something. Okay,
Senator Tim Kaine, we're out of time. We want to thank you for joining the John Fredericks Show today. We look forward to your talking straight today and telling the Republicans why we need an authorization for war. Thanks for being with us, sir.
You bet. Thanks, John.
All right, that was new constitutional conservative